All right, are we excited today? We have two programs coming up for you on bugs. And naturally, this is Rainforest Reptile Presents, and we're going to present bugs. And my name is Michael Robusky, and always, this is Joni. It's my wife, Joni.
Hi.
And we have a very, very special guest who has appeared in the Boston Globe and who does First Night in Sharon and many different venues. He does schools and museums and libraries and birthday parties. This is Mark Berman from Bugman Enterprises.
Love the name.
We all love bugs as we were kids. So we're going to go ahead and just go right into bugs. And Mark, I'm going to turn this over to you, and I'm just going to kind of play around with you. All right? We'll just do whatever we can do.
Me and the bugs. Well, thanks a lot for having me on the program.
You're
I
very
really
welcome.
appreciate it. And it's nice that we have an association going now, finally. One of the things I like to try to do is, since I am Bugman, or at least I represent Bugman, I always try to make sure everybody understands exactly what a bug is. We call a lot of things bugs. This is a bug.
Those cockroaches that run around my house, are they bugs?
Not officially.
No, okay.
Are they crickets?
You better get rid of those.
No, and you know, it's difficult because you want people to understand what you're talking about. And so in a lot of cases, I'll refer to things as bugs that, you know, just generically, like everybody
Anything
does.
that creepies, crawlies.
Something that bugs you, right. And I always like to tell people, like, your little sister could be a bug, or your big brother could be a bug, or you could have a bug in your
husband
stomach.
could be a bug.
Right, or you could be snug as a bug in a rug, or, but your computer could have a bug. But this is a bug, and it's not a living bug. We have one example of a living bug, which we can look at in just a moment. But bugs are all insects, and they belong to a group of insects called Hemiptera, which is the
Hemiptera.
That's those Latin names again. I can never do those.
I know.
I never can do those.
I know, me neither. And I like to teach kids the Latin names because they're usually two-part words, and in this case, P-T-E-R or pter means wing.
Good word.
And hemi means half, and most people know that because of hemispheres. And you can see on this one, you can always tell a bug because it's got triangles on its wings. And in this case, this one has a triangle right here. Its front wings look like they come down halfway and then stop, and that's why they're called half wings.
So this is like a stink bug.
This is exactly like a stink bug, but that one doesn't smell.
Oh. All right.
But when they're alive, if you hold them like this in your hand, then they give off a. There's a lot of bugs that do that.
Kind of like
Snakes,
a snake doing his little number on you.
I've had garter
Little
snakes.
musk.
A musk job.
I've had garter
Yeah.
snakes do that to me before.
Disgusting.
It's horrible. Yeah. We have a couple of other bugs insects in here that stink also. The coolest thing, and Joni's favorite part about true bugs, is their mouths.
Yeah.
They have piercing, sucking mouth parts.
Piercing, sucking mouth parts. I love that.
Those are my favorite kind. Which means that they essentially have a long beak, which is like a needle, that they'll take and they'll jab into other plants
Sounds
and animals.
pleasant.
I don't do needles.
And they spit, and then they suck out the juices. And they spit to turn everything inside into soup, so
boy,
it doesn't
kids.
clog up their stomach. I know. It's like a mosquito.
Yummy.
A mosquito does the same thing, and that's how it spreads diseases, by spitting.
Oh, boy, don't I know mosquitoes coming from Florida.
Yeah,
Oh, I bet.
I studied them down there once.
you?
Yeah,
Whoa,
in Florida.
Boy, I'll tell you.
They have a lot.
There's a lot of mosquitoes down
now,
there.
Mosquitoes aren't bugs. They have piercing, sucking mouth parts, but they're not true bugs. And
Why
one
aren't
way
they true bugs? Oh, because they don't have the triangle.
They don't have triangles in their wings, and they also don't have the kind of development that true bugs do. All true bugs have gradual metamorphosis, which means that they go through a series of small changes, a lot like snakes and lizards do, a lot like we do, and a lot different than caterpillars do, which is what you were saying.
Yeah.
And they have complete metamorphosis.
Right.
And so do mosquitoes have complete metamorphosis. That's because the babies live in water.
So it kind of be
the
like
adults live on
a
land.
frog.
Like, yeah, I was
tadpole.
going to say a frog starts out as a tadpole.
They have kind of an interesting combination because a tadpole doesn't look a lot like a frog, but then they don't have this stage in the middle that's a cocoon or a pupa, like butterflies. So usually complete metamorphosis in insects involves that sort of not
Cocoon.
dormant stage, but that stage where it doesn't look like they're doing anything.
Right.
Nap period.
Which,
Nap time.
If we went
Nap
through
time.
complete metamorphosis, it would be like college.
Not going there again.
It's like my
No,
college experience. You just kind of
Not going there
sit
again.
like this.
But
and
all you
change.
kids at home should always go
to
college.
college, right.
You can't get anywhere without any college nowadays. Please go.
And then you
Yep.
can learn
Please.
neat stuff about bugs.
That's right.
And do your
reptiles.
math homework.
Oh, math is most important.
Especially if
in
you wanna be a
any-
scientist.
Right, in any animal.
Because
Well, you have to know how to read too for those
right.
big Latin
You don't,
words.
you don't need to spend money on tutors like my mom did. So.
All right, now
Let's
we do
go.
have
Let's do bugs.
We have
Yeah,
we
we
do
want some
have
bugs.
one true bug, which we can look at first, and it doesn't look anything like this,
Because it's alive and it's not plastic.
no, because it lives in the water.
I always like to tear bugs apart and look inside them and see. He doesn't
Well,
have
that's a pleasant
There's
thought.
nothing inside him.
Don't
Look
tear
at the
bugs
bug guts.
apart.
I don't want to tear them apart.
You
but
can observe them, but don't be picking at them.
This is not. This is more like a Barbie bug. It's not anatomically correct.
Oh, it's a
inside.
Barbie
A
bug.
Barbie.
Look at the Barbie bug.
Now this one, I'll take it out so that we can probably, hopefully, get it on.
Does this
camera.
have one of those
See.
piercing, sucking mouths?
This does, and if you don't handle
Cool.
it carefully, it can pierce and suck on you.
And it will,
no, I
right?
don't
It
I
doesn't
it would
do.
be.
It doesn't do excellently well out of the water, but it
Put it
does
on the white
okay.
part so we can
Yeah.
see.
What kind of
There.
bug is that? Yeah,
Cool.
Now,
that's perfect.
This is a true bug, and it's called a water scorpion. I'm trying to get
Does it
its
sting
legs.
like a scorpion?
It does not sting like a scorpion, but it does have, because a scorpion stings with its tail, which we'll probably see before the end of these two programs. But this one has a beak on its mouth that it stings with. And this thing sticking up here are its two front legs. And because it's scared, this is how it acts when it's scared. But because it's scared, it holds its legs up together and looks as much like a stick as it can. And if this was in some algae, some aquatic plants, you would never be able to see it.
Yeah, it
It
looks
blends
like
in
it's
perfectly.
camouflaged,
Yep.
yeah.
It's got, at the end of its legs, it's got little thin sickle-like grabbing things that it uses to grab, and these things can catch like small fish and tadpoles. And I'm trying to, I wish I had
And
it.
this is a local species.
This is a local
Sickle's
species.
like what the Grim Reaper carries. right?
Yeah, yeah, and they kind of,
Everybody at Halloween uses the Grim Reaper sickle.
right, and they're almost like little praying mantis legs, except they just use the very last part, which is called the tarsus. Oh, there, I just tipped it over. I pulled it out and then tipped it over. Let's see if we can get it to come out here.
So
And
now
that's
you,
what they use to grab with?
They'll grab, yeah, there you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
See the little sickle-like part on it?
oh, neat.
Oh,
can see
guys, I don't know if you can see that
And
at
they'll-
home, but it's cool.
They'll use
Yeah.
that little teeny sickle part to grab things with, and then on their face, they've got a beak, which I
For
don't know if you
sucking.
can see or not, but their face basically has two big eyes and then a beak. And they take the, there we go, you can see its beak.
Wow.
Can you see that right
Oh,
there?
yeah.
And so they'll take the bug in the
That's
sickle-like
the piercing, sucking part.
right, and they'll
Yeah.
grab it in their sickle-like thing, and they'll jab it on their beak. And I've actually seen one. They like to eat baby mosquitoes, which are little wrigglers. And I've
Right.
actually seen one with a baby mosquito in each of its little sickle-like claws and one on its beak. So it would be eating one and holding two others, waiting to waiting to eat it.
Hungry.
They're-
Dinner.
Yeah, they're voracious predators.
We were talking about how they breathe, Mark. That was so cool. How
Yeah,
bugs
oops.
breathe.
Sorry.
Water bugs.
He's
right?
upside down.
Yeah, almost every insect or air-breathing animal that lives in the
Look at-
water has to breathe from its butt, from its abdomen, from the end of its back end of its body. And the reason, I mean, if you think about an animal that lives in the water, what do you think its biggest concern is?
I didn't get this one. so-
Being
Well, what did
eaten.
you say? You said
I
you
said drowning.
worrying about drowning, and that's important. You
Right,
got to be able to
being-
get to the surface.
Or being eaten by something.
Right, but being eaten. Now, some insects that live on the bottom of the water, like baby dragonflies and baby damselflies, have gills. Literally have gills like fish
Insects
do.
have gills?
Some of the babies do. Now, when they
Wow.
grow up, they go through complete metamorphosis, and when they grow up, they breathe air just like regular bugs.
Wow.
But when they're babies, they have gills. This one lives in the water its whole life, and so it breathes out of its back end. And this long tail-like thing is really a long straw, and it can sit just under the surface of the water in the seaweed. Well, it's not really. It's not in the sea,
It's not
and
in the
it's
sea.
not
Pondweed.
weeds.
It's not
but
weeds.
Pondweed.
it's not really a weed. It's algae, the aquatic
Yeah.
plants. But,
That's true.
But
It
and
goes
it's,
in the water and it grows. It's weeds.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, and it sticks this tail up and breathes through that, and that's a common design. That
So
way,
it
if a,
breathes through its butt.
right, that way if a fish comes,
bottom.
Oh.
its abdomen. That way if a fish comes, it has its eyes looking down and it can see the fish coming to eat it. Now, this is a true bug. It's very difficult to see the triangles on its wings because its body shape is changed so much. But it does fly, yeah, these things do fly. And I think this is a male. And you know, we're filming this in the middle of winter, and these things live as adults all winter long.
Right. This is the next Hollywood
so how
picture,
do they live?
guys.
I
This
mean,
is
do
the
they
next
live
horror
out in the
show
water
Hollywood.
if it freezes?
They'll usually go over to the shore and get underneath the leaf litter and the goop along the shore, and then when it freezes, they're down underneath where it stays.
So you'd find them in
enough.
just your local pond. So if
You
I was
will
out ponding,
Yep.
I could find one of these.
If you were lucky, and
How do they
You'd have to look really hard.
How do they taste?
I don't know.
No.
I've
You
never
want to
eaten.
eat one?
No.
I only have-
termites in Belize are enough. Yeah.
I only have one. There are.
No.
You know, it's funny because that comes up frequently in programs, and I always ask people who has eaten a bug before, and some people say, yeah, and then I say on purpose, and less people say, yeah, I've eaten it on purpose. And a lot of people have eaten them on purpose, but then I ask how many people have never eaten a bug in their whole life. Ugh. And a lot of people raise their hand, and it's not true because we eat bugs all the time. Yeah, yeah, and especially in processed tomato products are where most of our bugs get.
You mean there's ground up bugs and tomato
Pizza sauce? Pizza sauce?
No way.
Yeah, spaghetti sauce. So anytime you have pizza.
Sorry,
then,
Moms.
All right, so those are true bugs, and now you know.
Cool.
So now.
What can we do
I want
now?
to look at something
Well,
cool now.
look. Now that we know what true bugs are,
Let's look at something
we have to
not
make
a
an
bug.
agreement. We have to decide that okay, we've got that knowledge. We know what true bugs are, but now we got to go back to think about bugs the way we always did because I'll say, oh, this next bug, and it's not. This is the only true bug.
Can we talk about my favorite bug?
Yeah.
Can we?
What's your favorite bug?
The centipede.
You want to talk about that right now?
Because that is so
All right.
cool.
I
Where is
don't
this?
Right
like
here.
centipedes.
Right here. This is cool.
All right,
and you have
take,
one too.
You take this one out, and I'll take
I'm not
mine out.
Do you have yours?
No, I'm not taking that out.
And that's good. And
I'll
you'll
tell you
notice
what, I'll
it's-
hold him up for you though.
And you'll notice
I'll hold him up
his
here for
his
you.
cage is taped also.
Yes.
The one that I had, which we can take out.
He's right here.
Oh,
good.
yep.
There he is.
He's in my dead bug box. These were sacrificed for scientific purposes, not viciously killed. Actually, this one I used to have alive as part of my program stock, and it died. I went home for Thanksgiving, and when I came back, it was dead. But it's kind of nice because it's something you can handle. Well,
anything
put
with
it on your
centipedes,
face.
I don't like
no.
centipedes.
On your face.
Well,
Actually, I'd
now,
like to touch
we
it.
have to be respectful about this, and so we're not going to put it on anybody's face.
Feels like
but
other bugs.
these things are the scariest animals. This is the scariest animal I ever had in my stock, and that one is just very frightening.
You don't want to hold him?
No.
No?
At the end of each one of their legs, they have a little stinger. And it's not poisonous or anything, but it is sharp. And so if you tried to grab it or tried to eat it, you would have to contend with all these little thorns all the way down.
I wouldn't want to eat
They're very, very, very fast. I almost wish this was in a different container so you could see how fast they
I wonder
were.
if we could let this go in the studio.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll just, I'll have to go get something out of the car. And then but they've got near their mouth, and I don't know if we can see this or not, but right near their mouth, they have, yeah, they've got really long antennas, which they move a lot. And you can see how this one's feeling around with its antennas. But near their mouth, they've got these extra modified legs that have poison glands. That big bulge right before them has poison in it. And these are actually legs that they use as biting fangs, and that's how they get their science name also, which is, oh, here comes another Latin word.
Another Latin word.
Their
Here we
science
go.
name is Chilopida.
Chilopida.
Yep, C-H-I, and that means mouth foot, basically.
Mouth foot.
Yeah, and it's because these legs they use them, they're modified, but they use them as part of their mouth parts. And you can see that they don't even come out of their head. They come out of this body segment right after their head, and that's how you know they're legs.
Do they, are they, will they kill you if they bit you? Would it kill
I've
you?
never given it the chance to find out.
Now you said
Now, I've heard
poison
so many scientists and biologists talk about these and say that they are so venomous you can't touch them. Is that true with all centipedes, or is it we don't know?
All centipedes are predators, and we'll look at some millipedes here in a second before we put these away and compare and contrast, because in Massachusetts, in New England, in any temperate climate, you can find both centipedes and millipedes. If you respectfully look under the roof of an animal's house, which is like a rock or a piece of wood, you always have to be respectful about it, because you know it's like if somebody pulled the roof off of your house, you'd want to be careful.
A little upset.
Yeah, but if you look under them and you see something that's sort of flat like this, and its legs are sticking off to the side, and it moves really fast, you want to kind of be careful, because all centipedes are predators, and so all centipedes can bite. So they all have a poisonous bite.
It's not a sting.
No,
it's not a sting. It's kind of a toss-up, because this technically isn't their mouth.
Okay.
But a stinger usually comes out of your butt, the end of your abdomen, and so.
That's all right. We can say butt.
It's kind of a difficult definition, because so this would count more as a bite, because they sort of do it with things associated with their mouth. So it would count as a bite. The ones around here are small, and so if they did bite you, it might be like a bee sting at worst. If this one bit you, it would hurt more than when you said you got stung by a scorpion once. Yeah, and it would hurt more than that. And I don't know if it would kill you. This one is pretty darn big, though. So I don't think I want to test it.
I've been raising him for 2 years now, and he's one of my babies. So.
Yeah.
What does he eat? What would he eat in the wild?
Well, he's a predator, and so he's going to eat bugs.
Okay, he's going to eat other bugs.
Yeah, and I guess some of them eat little mice, too. And he would eat essentially anything he saw or felt moving. And we're saying he, this could be a she. I don't know. It's got usually the ones with big bodies are she's, and so without something to compare it to, it's hard to tell. But it would eat anything it could catch.
And where are these from? Are they from all over the world? Do we have them everywhere?
As far as I know, they're everywhere except maybe in the cold, the Arctic regions.
You mean so I could go out in my backyard and find a centipede like this?
No, you could go out in your backyard and find a centipede like this.
Oh.
You could sometimes go in your basement and find a centipede about like this. That's
I'm leaving my basement.
Well,
but there's
I don't know if you've
different
seen
varieties.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen them before or not. They're called house centipedes, and they've got real long legs. It almost looks like they're furry, and they move really fast.
And they're white?
They look like they're almost striped, like they're black and white striped.
I have them at work all the time, and they
really
kind of almost like they're standing up. On their
and they go very, very fast.
Let's talk about this while we're at this. This is because this is.
I had a question about this though. You were saying poison. Are they poison or are they venomous? I mean, do they inject a venom, or is it?
Venom is basically biological poison. And so
yeah, but it's, I mean, like when I think of poison, I think of like a dart frog, which has poison on it, and they excrete it off of it. But when I think of venom, I think of something that's injected as a digestive agent.
I don't know if this one has digestive qualities or not. It might, and it would make sense that it does because it's near its mouth, but I don't know if it does or not. Like, I don't think, that's not a good plan. Like, I don't think a scorpion's venom digests, but a tarantula's does.
Right.
And so I don't know about these guys. That's a good question, though.
These are one of my favorite guys. I really like the way they look.
Yeah, these are my favorites also. They're my favorite scavengers. And you know, one thing we like to talk about is what animals do in the world. And I frequently get asked the question, what good do mosquitoes do? And it's like, well, what good do you do? Why do they have to do any good? You know, and so, but you can talk about things in terms of their roles in the world. And scavengers are underappreciated and critically important. And actually my shirt on how to make an apple, the most important ingredient in making an apple is poop that comes from millipedes or scavengers or worms, cockroaches.
Wow. So that fertilizes the tree?
Well, it puts the nutrients, when they eat, they release the nutrients out of, like if an apple falls off of a tree, the nutrients get stuck in it. The tree can't get it because its roots are in the ground. When they poop and it rains, the nutrients go back into the ground, the tree will take them up and make a new apple out of it, which you could have for lunch.
Wow.
So you might end up eating, you know, cockroach poop for lunch.
I know. Boy, you know, these poor mothers are not going to be wanting to deal with us anymore. With our tomatoes and everything.
But these guys are cool, and they're good to, and you know, the reason that I first got big centipedes was to be able to compare them, because
this
you'll
isn't a
find
centipede.
no, this is a millipede, but
okay.
and you can tell the difference. I mean, it's obvious just by looking at them, but there's a few rules you can
Wow, they're so different.
base it on. They are very different.
So
The
different.
official way to tell the difference is a millipede has. I'm going to lift this up and see if you can see underneath it.
Millions of legs.
Well, it's got, it means thousands of legs, but, and centipede means 100
It's
legs,
100
and
legs,
millipede
right.
means 1,000 legs. But really, on each of this one's body segment, it's got 4 legs.
Whoa.
And so there's 2 sets of 2 legs on each side. On a centipede, it's got 2 legs on each body segment.
Aren't they neat? Look
And
at
so
their.
that's the clear way to tell the difference. But other differences are obvious. This one's round, and its legs stick off on the bottom. And just by looking at them, well, it's hard to tell here, but just by seeing them, you could tell which one was the predator and which one was the scavenger.
Ow!
Now,
Ow! No, just kidding.
these guys are vegetarians, are they not?
They are, no.
They're
they are
not.
scavengers.
So they'll eat
they're
anything.
omnivores. They'll
They'll
eat
eat
anything.
everything.
Wow.
And actually, in captivity, what do you feed yours?
We feed them.
Stuff.
Yeah. Well, I feed them some neutro dog food. We feed them some
Salad.
salad and
Right.
Leaf lettuce.
Right, and that's good. And do you know why you feed them neutro dog food? Did somebody tell you to, or?
I just started doing it, and they seem to like it. I don't know why I do it. Why
you
do I do it?
because it's got protein in it. And in the wild, they would eat dead animals,
Oh, I
which
see.
makes them not vegetarians, but
right.
they would get protein from that. And I don't know if you can see how its legs move. That's one of the coolest things about them, is how their legs move. They look like little waves. And what's really cool about them is the waves go from the back to the front. And usually when you think about the way animals walk, you think about them moving their front legs first and then their back legs. But this one is going from the back to the front, and when it gets over the white part, you'll be able to tell. But it also
right
acts.
there.
It also acts very much like a scavenger. It's got its head down, and its antennas dabbing around on the ground.
Here he comes.
Oh yeah, yours is coming out. I think
I
this one's
figured
a
if he
girl.
warmed up.
I think this one's a girl, and I don't know about that one, but this one looks like a boy.
This feels so weird.
What's it feel like?
It feels weird.
Feels
That's
like
all I can describe it to you.
little
It just
fingers
feels
touching.
Weird. And I always thought they were vegetarians, so I would never have a problem holding them because I wouldn't think they would bite me.
They won't bite you. Actually, they try to bite me sometimes.
That's what they always say.
And you can see. Oh, I don't know if you can get on its face, but you can see where their mandibles are, or their teeth-like things.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be held.
Yeah.
wanna be
And a lot of times when I hold them upside down and stuff to show people their legs, they'll reach up and try and bite me. And as hard as they try, they can't do it.
They can't bite
So
you?
sometimes you
Even
can
when
feel.
they're really big like this one?
Yeah. Sometimes you can feel a little pinch, but they really can't bite you.
Why was that one all balled up in a ball?
That's a good question. That is their primary defense. These things are, if you look at them, they're not as scary as these guys, and they're.
Those guys are scary.
Yeah, these are scary, and you just don't mess with these when you see them. These, if you were a predator looking for food, this is
now it feels neat on my fingers. You can actually feel the little feet, the way they're moving.
well, these guys are just big, juicy bags of protein. I mean, this is good food and virtually defenseless food. And so if something, wow, this one is huge.
Isn't it?
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
I like this
it
one.
feels
This is
really
a
neat.
this is a big female. The females get really, really big.
they?
Yeah. So their first defense, and your guys have already calmed down enough, but I have some that aren't quite so calm. Their first defense is to curl up in a ball, because it's really hard to get through this hard shell. And so here's one. I like to
We're
call
going to
this
have
one.
millipedes all over the floor.
I like to call this one chocolate colored. Fortunately, they move slowly. I like to call this one chocolate colored.
Yeah. 'cause
Now, is
it's
this from
usually-
Africa like these guys?
These are, I believe these are from South America, and these are from Central Africa, from Equatorial Africa. But this one, I believe, is from South America.
So these are the ones we see on Discovery Channel that are being eaten by meerkats.
Yeah.
And things like
Right.
that.
And when a
Yeah.
meerkat goes to eat it, this will be its first defense, to curl up in a little ball. And it makes it really hard to get, I mean, you can't chew through this hard shell. So you try and pull it open.
What's
Now,
that shell called?
This is, well, it's called an exoskeleton.
an exoskeleton?
Yeah, and it's
is that a
made-
true exoskeleton?
Yeah.
It
yeah.
is.
And they have to shed it because it doesn't grow.
So do
just
they
like-
have little bones inside there?
No.
Like little trains.
No, no, and that's a good question, because their skeleton actually functions the same way ours does. It gives them support, which otherwise we'd all be like, you know,
Jelly.
the boneless chicken
Blech.
farm.
Big blobs of flesh.
Right.
Yeah.
And it also, one of the most important things that our skeleton does that people don't always learn is it gives our muscles a place to hook onto.
Okay.
So that, I mean, you know, if you've got a muscle in your arm, it goes from your elbow to your shoulder, but it attaches to a bone on each side.
Right.
And their muscles attach to their exoskeleton, so it's got the same function. This one has really strong muscles that can curl it up in this ball, and if you try and pull this open, you can see how tight it is, and you don't want to pull too hard.
Yeah, you hurt him.
Yeah,
You
well,
break him.
no, you know what happens is that if you pull too hard, and I mean, I could open this because I'm a big kid, and if I wanted to be disrespectful, I'm so much bigger than it, and I could definitely pull it open. But you pull and pull and pull, and if you pull too hard, you know what happens?
You break it.
No, it poops on you.
Oh.
I know, and that's its defense. That's one of its.
Now, I've heard that millipedes have a really caustic kind of.
They do have a substance. Well, actually, they've
is
got
it-
a substance that they secrete onto the outside of their body, and so sometimes when you handle them a lot, you'll have like yellow stains on your fingers. These ones aren't
Yeah,
doing it.
you know, I've noticed that.
Yeah.
I noticed that.
And it's something that you don't want to eat. Like you don't want to go and lick your fingers or anything. But
That's why I got sick the other day.
it isn't.
I was
But
licking my fingers.
well,
You
and it
didn't
actually,
wash your hands?
yeah,
You know better. You're supposed to wash your hands.
Yeah, and it actually can give you a stomach ache and make you sick. But their poop is just real runny and goopy, and it gets all over the place and makes you lose your appetite.
That's disgusting. Yeah.
Well,
You
gotta
think we
protect
can have
yourself.
these with spaghetti sauce with the bugs in them?
If you want to, I don't know if I'd
You know,
recommend
we're
it.
almost running out of time here, and we haven't done very many bugs this
No.
time. But there is so much to talk about in the world of bugs,
Yeah.
that we're going to do another show on this, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to do another program on this. Right now, I want to say to everybody at home, this is cool. Bugs are cool. Call Bugman Enterprises for your school, your birthday party. This is way cool. But don't forget us. Don't forget the reptiles. We're going to leave, I think the phone number is going to be on the end of the credits.
Great.
And boy, if you need more information about Bugman and you don't have his phone number, call Rainforest Reptile Shows. We'll be glad to give it to you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
And we'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.